The benefits of single-sex education versus co-education. The subject of single-sex education versus co-education has been a hot topic in recent years. Historically, only boys were given the opportunity to pursue formal education. It was not until the early 19th century that separate schools for women were put into place, nearly 100 years before they were granted the right to vote. Until Oberlin was established as the nation's first co-ed college in 1837, women could not even attend the same college as men. Yet moving forward, the 20th century saw many schools trending towards co-education. Dating back to the early 70s, there have been a number of significant events in the realm of single-sex versus co-education. In 1972, Title IX was set forth by the U.S. Department of Education, establishing that no person in the U.S. shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, or denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal aid. This put an end to single-sex schooling for a number of decades. In 2002, the No Child Left Behind Act was established by President George W. Bush, allocating funding for original programs supporting single-sex schools. The National Association for Single-Sex Public Education was then established by Leonard Sachs with the intent to advance single-sex public education for girls and boys. In 2005, a comprehensive review of single-sex versus co-education was released by the U.S. Department of Education, leading up to the eventual revision of Title IX in 2006, permitting single-sex education. In 2011, a controversial co-education study was released by Diane Halpern and the American Council for Co-Educational Schooling, attacking the 2005 Department of Education's review. Halpern's study was largely responsible for prompting the Teach Kids Not Stereotypes campaign launched by the American Civil Liberties Union the following year. Keeping the last few years of events in mind, the research questions that I sought to answer within my paper were as follows. 1. Are single-sex schools more effective than coeducational schools with regards to boys' and girls' socio-emotional development and adaptation? And 2. Are single-sex schools more effective than coeducational schools in terms of academic accomplishments? In one of the leading reports surrounding opposition of single-sex schooling, The Pseudoscience of Single-Sex Schooling, Halpern and her fellow social scientists argue that single-sex classrooms do not prepare boys and girls for adult life, and boys who spend more time with other boys become increasingly aggressive, whereas girls who spend more time with other girls become more sex-typed. Halpern infers that when teachers encourage gender-segregated activities and lessons, boys and girls develop a lesser range of behaviors and attitudes, and that the only way for students to improve intergroup relationships is through interaction with the opposite sex. However, single-sex advocate Leonard Sachs disagrees, saying that the statements made by supporters of co-education are not true of all boys and girls, and that instead of focusing on students' gender classifications, researchers would do well to move their focus to identifying educational opportunities that pique students' interests and talents. An especially strong influence in the single-sex movement was a 2007 study by Stetson University. The study showed that 75% of females and 86% of males in single-sex classrooms achieved proficiency on the Florida Comprehensive Assessment Test, while only 59% of females and 37% of males in co-ed classrooms were deemed proficient. Single-sex activists typically point to cognitive differences as support for the academic benefits of gender separation, such as a 2007 report by the National Institute of Mental Health, which illustrated how the brain regions in young girls develop in a different order and at a different pace than those of boys. Through 829 brain scans collected from 387 people, the neuroscientists were able to show that the occipital lobe used for visual processing developed quite rapidly for girls ages 6 through 10. However, boys did not experience growth in this region until after they turned 14. The study also showed that the region of the brain responsible for processing language was more developed in 3-year-old girls than it was in 5-year-old boys. Because of this, it is important that girls and boys are taught in a manner that meets their needs. There really is no clear answer as to whether single-sex schools are more effective than co-educational schools, both in the socio-emotional and academic sense. According to Leonard Sachs, single-sex education is not best for every child, as one size does not fit all. Because of the distinct variations between girls and boys, they must be permitted to choose for themselves. An ideal classroom environment is one in which both genders are targeted. Boys and girls experience different cognitive development as they access and use different regions of their brain at various stages in life. As is such, boys and girls have distinctive adaptive learning styles. If educators fully understand the differences between male and female learning styles, they should be able to customize their teaching methods, therefore potentially eliminating the need to separate the genders. The ultimate solution lies in assuring that both girls and boys have the same educational opportunities and learning support.